One of the greatest gifts that we can give another human being is the gift of being loved. I was born and raised in Johannesburg, South Africa in the 1970s, during the apartheid regime, where blacks and whites were completely segregated. I grew up in an all-white suburb where the only black woman I saw was the woman who cleaned our house, Sina. And the only black man I saw was the man who worked in our garden, Lion. When I was 14, I heard about a school nearby that was the very first multiracial school in South Africa. And I decided to go there. I was suddenly exposed to kids my age of all different races, blacks, Indians, coloreds. The word colored in South Africa is not a derogatory word. It means mixed race. I graduated from high school in 1993. It was a few months before Nelson Mandela was elected the very first Black president of South Africa. And it was the supposed end of apartheid, in theory. A few years later, I was in my 20s and I had moved to a coastal city in South Africa called Cape Town. I was living in an apartment by myself in the center of town. And I wanted to do something meaningful with my days, and I hadn't yet found it. Every day when I left the house and I walked into the streets, I was accosted by street kids. Street kids are Black boys who come from very broken homes, a lot of drug addiction, and live in dire poverty. They live on the street, sleep, beg, steal, and often die on the street. As the years went by, I started to get to know some of them, and I decided I wanted to do something to help these kids. Seeing as I love to draw, and my mom is a pretty well-known artist in South Africa, I decided to use my artistic talent to help these kids. I heard about the school nearby called Learn to Live. It was a special school specifically for street kids to help them get off the street and transition into a regular school. On my first day, I walk into this classroom and there are 20 Black teenage boys, rowdy as hell. No one is sitting in a desk. They're running amok. Nobody's really interested in what I'm there to teach. In the front of the class, there's a kid hunched over his desk, holding a pen in his hand, drawing. And I walk up to this kid and I look at his drawing and I say, "That's an amazing drawing. You're a really good artist. You know that? What's your name?" And he looks up with these big, beautiful, innocent, kind eyes and he says, "Thandile." I didn't know at the time that Thandile in Xhosa means being loved. Over the year that I taught at Learn to Live, Thandile and I became friends, even though we were 10 years apart. We hung out after school. We walked around town together. I took him to my favorite sandwich shop. I took him to my mom's art studio to show him what the life of a real artist was like, to inspire his own drawing. I even took him once to the planetarium as a surprise. I told him to close his eyes and then to open them and look up. And I will never forget the look on his face when he saw the night black sky with twinkling stars in the middle of the day. After a year of working at Learn to Live, I left, and eventually Thandile graduated from the school. And unlike a lot of the street kids who were in that school, he didn't land up back on the streets. Instead, he had found a group of Rastafarians, and he became a Rasta himself. And he turned to a higher power, Jah, which I believe gave his life purpose. And he carried on doing his art, and he became a singer. And I was so proud of him. We lost touch over the years. One day, I was walking from my apartment to catch a cab in the center of town. This is an area where there are no white people, and I was completely comfortable, as I always am, around people of color. I was walking to catch the cab, and it was 4:00 in the afternoon, so it wasn't rush hour. There weren't that many people around. And suddenly, I saw these two colored guys in their early 20s, looking really aggressive, with like a glazed look in their eyes. And they were coming at me. The first thing I did was catch my breath and clutch my bag towards my body. I didn't know whether to run or scream for help. I knew in that moment that I was going to get mugged, or worse. Then there's Thandile. Out of nowhere, he shows up, and his mere presence chases these two guys away. I throw my arms around him. I give him a huge hug, and I tell him, "You are my guardian angel." And I mean it. We part ways, and a few more years go by, and we lose touch. It's 2007, October 20th. It's a very special night. I'm getting ready to move to America. I've met a guy, and I'm getting ready to move to America. That's not why it's a special night. It's a special night because it's the day that South Africa has won the Rugby World Cup for the second time. And outside of my window, there are parties in the streets. People are going nuts. They're screaming, they're shouting, they're partying, they're drinking, they're blowing the vuvuzela, which is this plastic trumpet. And everybody's just rejoicing. There's a knock on my door. It's Thandile. He drags me out willingly, and we party together in the street like friends that we are. We're hugging and singing, blacks, whites, colors, everyone's together, just having the time of their lives. A few months later, I leave the country, and again, we lose contact. Thandile eventually finds me on Facebook, and we become Facebook friends. We start chatting on Facebook and catching up about where we are in our lives. I found out that he's now a 35-year-old man, a father, like I'm a mother, and he is a very recognized hip-hop artist who sings around the country, around South Africa, at different gigs with his band. And his stage name is Black Supreme, Black with a Q. And I am so proud of him. In one of his texts, he says to me, "Shani, I never forgot you because you always, always showed me nothing but love." My friendship with Thandile spans 2 continents, 20 years, color, race, and age, and is a true testament of the power of being loved. Thanks.